House Budget Chairman says the federal government can afford anything. It's not a question of what we can afford. The federal government can afford anything that it feels it needs to do, and right now that's what we ought to be focused on. You know why they have this attitude? Because they have your money. If they ever run out of money, they will come to you and demand more of it. And you can't say no. They will just keep leeching more money out of you until you stop working and everyone else stops working and the whole thing crashes to the ground. That last part is something they never consider. They always think that, as soon as the money runs out, we could just take more. What are these peasants going to do? Refuse? Well, if they give us lip, we're going to send armed thugs to their homes and lock them up. No big deal. Imagine if we could solve our problems this way. Imagine if you could get into as much debt as you want, and as soon as the debt collectors come by, say, just go to my neighbor and get the money from him. Imagine if that actually worked. Representative John Yarmouth serves as the chair of the House Budget Committee, and during a recent appearance on Communist News Network, Yarmouth downplayed concerns about the cost of the massive infrastructure bill and said that the federal government can afford anything. And there are way too many people serving, in Washington, D.C. who believe this is true. Because so far it has been. Every time the government runs out of money, you know what the fucking government does? They come to you and they take more money. Now, Representative John Yarmouth, here's what he said, the transcript. The number itself is meaningless. I mean, it's funny you can say that when you're dealing with other people's money, right? And also the money these days is just ones and zeros on a computer. You could just add a few, right? I mean, I read Joe Manchin's statement. I've listened to him. He has no understanding of how the federal government monetary system works when he compared it yesterday to his household income. That has no relevance to what we can do. It's not a question of what we can afford. The federal government can afford anything that it feels it needs to do, and right now that's where we ought to be focused on. So that's the kind of position I took in the Budget Committee. That's the position I would take going forward. The shame is that we have an opposition party, the Republican Party, who doesn't think the federal government has any obligation to do anything about providing childcare, early childhood indoctrination, paid family medical leave, and any of the things that are in the Build Back Better Act. Obviously, all they can do is an appeal to emotion, huh? All they got is talking points and appeals to emotion. That's how you know they're full of shit. But in this case, he's not entirely wrong. The federal government can afford anything that it feels it needs to do. They're going to just add more ones and zeros to the Federal Reserve, to the bank accounts. Just, let's just arbitrarily print more money. All right. Then, that's still not enough? Well, take some from the peasantry. Just, you guys know all of those old, samurai movies where you always got this poor village that's being taxed to death by their local lord? That's basically how this dipshit sees the government. Like, the people still have a few grains of rice left. Just take their rice. But they have to eat something, right? Well, let them eat cake. Now, most people cannot even conceive of how huge a number a trillion is, but the Democrats want to spend almost 4 of them. And now slightly smaller numbers are being talked about as a compromise. It's insane. Well, that's just a typical negotiation tactic, actually. You start with some outrageous number, assuming that the other side is going to counter with a lower offer, and you go from there. So Brian Riedel of the Manhattan Institute writes at the New York Post, only in lefty land is $1.5 trillion considered a compromise. Things have gone crazy when $1 trillion is considered a compromise. Yesterday, Senator Joe Manchin insisted he cannot support a reconciliation bill costing more than $1.5 trillion, $2 trillion less than most Democrats want, and he insisted the bill must be fully offset. Yeah, that means I believe that they have plans in place to actually pay for it somehow. Not really something the government usually does. I can't support $3.5 trillion more in spending when we already have spent $5.4 trillion since last March. Yeah. What's another $3? Dude, this is just like any other gambler right there It's like, well, I've already sank $1,000 into this gotcha trying to get my waifu. What's another 500? And then, oh, I've already spent 1,500. What's another 1,000 at this point? Fuck, may as well just keep going. And at some point, all of us, regardless of party, must ask the simple question: how much is enough? Enough was about a decade ago, at least. It should have stopped then. Who mentions dim colleagues continue to express exasperation, saying that they already compromised down from Bernie Sanders' $6 trillion demand. Why do you care what Bernie Sanders has to say? Isn't he still technically an independent? Regressive activists on social media have erupted that Manchin may as well join the Republicans. Well, yeah, at this point, anyone that's not a far leftist may as well join the Republicans. And we better hope this bill fails. Democrats are driving the country straight over a cliff. Well, to be fair, the Republicans are driving it over the same cliff. They're just taking the longer road. That's all it is. Oh man, I am so excited to tell you guys right now that finally, after about a year of build-up and shilling, we have launched Blade Devil on Indiegogo, and so far it is doing so well thanks to awesome people like you. If you haven't backed it yet, then please check the links in the description and check out Blade Devil on Indiegogo. You will not be disappointed. Looking forward to seeing you there.